We welcome back to the show Speaker of the House, Mr. Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for coming on. I want to talk about the fiscal goings-on in a moment, but, you know, commensurate with the RIF and the report out of Arizona, you have a very good resolution here. I'm reading it. It has a lot of important stuff in it, which you got through. You get through these things miraculously. I don't know how you do it, sir. But let me just read something. Whereas the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk must not be allowed to deepen the divide in our nation, but instead serve as a turning point to recommit ourselves to better angels and to the timeless American principle of liberty governed by truth and the virtues of peaceful dialogue. And you go on one more. Whereas Charlie Kirk would not have us respond to his death with despair, but rather with renewed purpose to speak truth with courage, to stand firm in faith, and to seek unity while standing in principle. I will thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if people around the country are aware of this resolution or the wording of this resolution. There's much more in it, but I want to thank you for it. It's a wonderful thing, and I hope you'd just give us a moment here on the show and tell us about the genesis of this resolution, what you were aiming at.
Larry, thanks so much. Great to be with you as always. Our hearts are heavy. It's been a very difficult week, more than a week now, in America since Charlie's untimely passing, his assassination, for standing for those principles you just articulated. I'll be traveling with the president on Air Force One to go to the memorial service, the funeral on Sunday in Phoenix. But in the meantime, everyone in Congress wanted to take some action. They wanted to go on record to affirm the incredible legacy and the life of our friend Charlie Kirk. Now, the Democrats didn't see it the same way, and in spite of that lofty language that you just read there, that's a sampling of the language in the resolution. There's nothing partisan about it at all. 118 Democrats this afternoon, Larry, decided not to vote or to vote no on this resolution. All it does is affirm a young American who died too early, who gave his life to American principles and values and patriotism and free speech. And it decried the assassination and political violence that's taken over our country. Democrats voted against that, and I think it's shameful.
Yeah, it's really too bad. I don't understand how somebody like Charlie Kirk, who believes in free speech, who believes in free markets, and who believes in freedom in general as a patriot, can possibly be called a fascist or a Hitlerite or a Nazi. We have, just quickly, I'm going to read you ridiculous language in the House today by this lefty Rashida Tlaib. You know about this, but I want people to just have a look at it.
One of the things that I know in every abuse of power that, you know, we let President Trump and the administration get away with in D.C., it will be replicated. I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact.
Fascist is a bad word. And I think, Mr. Speaker, it's not only a bad word, it's an inciting word. And it is ultimately, as we've seen, as we get to the further reaches of the left in this country, it is a word that incites violence. And I think there's somehow, I don't know, I can't stop her from saying it. It is a free country. But I'll repeat what I said. A fellow like Charlie Kirk, a great American like Charlie Kirk, who believed in freedom, free speech, and free markets, how in the world do you call him a fascist?
That's exactly the kind of rhetoric that is leading to political violence. And it is a free country, and you can say any crazy thing you want, but when you're an elected member of the United States Congress, you have a higher responsibility. You have a duty to walk in the dignity of your office and not spread that kind of nonsense. She didn't know Charlie Kirk. She didn't know anything about him. We did. Every single person that knew Charlie as a friend or watched or actually listened to what he said, he was consistent. He was a great American. He talked about faith and family and freedom and virtue and things that are noble and praiseworthy and good, as Scripture talks about. And he believed in American exceptionalism. That's what he preached. That. So because of that, they're calling him a fascist, a Nazi. That's what they label all Republicans now. It is absurd. We have to call it out. We'll continue to do that. And we'll continue, I guess, to put them on record if they're willing to vote and to vote against out, calling out political violence, it shows you exactly who they are. And that's why we've got to win in the election cycle coming up, as we have in the last couple.
Yes, that's a good way to look at it. Anyway, speaking of more Speaker Johnson magic, at least you got a short-term continuing resolution so the government doesn't shut down. You can tell us about that. It's not getting through the Senate so fast. They don't have as much magic as you do. But what happened exactly?
Well, listen, here's the thing, Larry. We've been working very hard. You and I have talked a lot about how we got to get Congress back to the way the budgeting and appropriations process is supposed to work. As we remember, the way it's supposed to work is 12 separate appropriations bills passed by Congress through regular order with debate and discussion and arm wrestling over what the appropriate amounts of spending are. I'm proud to tell you we've gotten that muscle memory back in the House. The House Appropriations Committee, working in bipartisan fashion, was forced into doing that, but they got it done. Chairman Tom Cole and the appropriators did a great job. 12 separate appropriations bills passed through committee, 3 off the House floor. The Senate passed 3. They don't match up exactly, so guess what? We're going to a conference committee to work that out. That's the way it's supposed to work. But we need a little bit more time because the end of the fiscal year falls September 30th. So well in advance, without drama, we put a nonpartisan, short-term continuing resolution on the floor just to keep the government open responsibly so the appropriators can finish this process. And guess what Chuck Schumer did, Larry? He came out with a highly partisan wish list of items, a crazy list of things. He wanted to increase spending by over $1.4 trillion of new spending to attach onto this thing. He wanted to reinstitute paying illegal aliens free health care by taxpayer funding. He wanted to add $500 million to prop up left-wing media organizations again. We're just not doing that, and he knows it. So Chuck Schumer is trying to force the government into a shutdown, and he's going to pay the price for that.
Wow. All right. Well said. So speaking of money, and by the way, we have the new Fed member, Steve Myron, coming on right after you. But there's this business. You're a constitutional lawyer. There's this business about Lisa Cook and her alleged mortgage fraud, which seems to be a pretty strong case. Her lawyers are arguing that her office as Fed board member appointed by the president is somehow private property, entitled to all this appeals, and we're going to go to the Supreme Court. How do you see that? Again, I call on your constitutional lawyerness. I mean, Mr. Trump fired her. I believe she should stay fired, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, I do as well, and I haven't dug into the details of all of that, but I'll tell you that putting up a fight and putting on this show as she is inappropriate. It's time to step down, read the room, right? We need qualified people to serve on the board and to do the right thing. We're heartened to see interest rates a small drop this week, but we need much more. We've got to make home ownership even more affordable for young families so they can follow the American dream and start their families sooner and all of that. And the Fed has a lot to say about it. So we need folks who see it that way, who will act responsibly. And these allegations are serious. I think they need to be followed through on.
And one more constitutional law question. The Supremes are going to take up the tariff question, as you know, the IEPA question, International Emergency Economic Policy. Here, too, look, I'm not the lawyer, Lord knows, but, the president conducts foreign policy through trade policy. He's the commander-in-chief. It seems to me the Supremes are going to give him that. I mean, that's never been denied. And furthermore, sitting back, I talk about money. You could, by the end of the year, have $300 billion in tax revenues that would have to be rebated to large companies, small businesses. That would create a monetary chaos. What the Supreme's going to do about IEPA, sir?
Well, I hope the Supreme Court stays in its lane. In the Article 1 branch, we've allowed the Article 2 branch, the executive, the latitude to do what is necessary to conduct and renegotiate trade agreements and to make sure America is being treated fairly. You can't have free trade unless it's also fair trade, and the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, has the authority to do that. So we hope the Article 3 branch of government, the judicial branch, will acknowledge the same and allow this to continue. You're right, it'd be chaos, it'd be a big mess if they tried to unwind it, and the President has done an extraordinary job. He's getting us back on a level playing field with our allies around the world and even the adversaries taking note. We've got to get this resolved. I think there's some uncertainty that still remains, but it will be finalized here soon. unless the court gets in the middle of it. So we'll see what they do in November. I hope they do the right thing, and I hope the president is allowed to continue what he's doing, because it is working for American taxpayers and American citizens everywhere.
Yeah, well, knowing him, I mean, he wants to build some factories. I don't blame him. He wants to build some factories. Fascinating. By the way, one of the hottest stock sectors in this massive stock market rally, which I think has a lot to do with Mr. Trump's pro-growth program, is industrials, old-fashioned manufacturing industrial companies. And Mr. Trump wants to have a level playing field, build some more here. So I think that's great. But I have a thought, sir. You know I like to weigh in with you every now and then. You have this tariff revenue surplus. As I say, it could be $300 billion for calendar year 2025. How about returning it to the taxpayers? What do you think of that, Speaker Johnson?
Well, there's a school of thought that says that's the best way to do it, but we've also got to manage the national debt. We need to pay that down as well. You and I both know it's a big national security threat to us right now, and we're looking to be responsible and good stewards of that taxpayer funding, and we can use that tariff revenue in a number of ways. But we're going through that. That's part of the process. Part of our small d democratic process is to have those debates and arguments, and ultimately we'll do the right thing. We're trying to keep steady hands on the wheel in the Congress to allow the president to keep doing and advancing these policies, and it is working for the American people. And that's why, you know, Larry, I'm very bullish about the midterm elections coming up in 2026, because people are going to feel the positive effects of all these pro-growth policies. Everything we did in the One Big Beautiful Bill, the working families tax cuts, and all the rest, we're doing right by the people. We're fulfilling our promises, and they'll feel that, and I think they'll reward it.
You get your blue-collar bloom, sir. You get your blue-collar boom. You're going to defy history and pick up seats next year. That's just some Kudlow thinking.
That's right.
All right. Speaker Mike Johnson.
I like it.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it very, very much. Thanks for visiting.